Um, this is part of AMSUN Study Abroad online series. We have set apart speakers from different parts of the world to speak about their experience in the various countries that they have managed to enroll in and now are practicing in those countries. So from here, I'll hand it over to Kamau so that he can introduce our guest speaker for today, Dr. Brian Maugo. Kamau, are we together? Hello, Kamau. I think we have lost Kamau. Kindly, give me 2 minutes, just 1 minute, so I can introduce the speaker. Kamau, are you back? Okay, I think he's experiencing technical issues. So I'll go right ahead and introduce Dr. Brian Maugo. So Dr. Brian is a lecturer here in UN, and he is a neonatologist at the Department of...
There's the internet.
Oh yes, okay, welcome back, Kamau. Please go right ahead. Hello, Kamau, have I heard you? Yeah, I'll just go right ahead and continue. He's a lecturer and neonatologist at the Department of Pediatrics and Child Health here at the University of Nairobi. He currently provides care to neonates at KNH here in Nairobi, Kenya. He completed his residency in Peds and Child Health at the University of Nairobi. He pursued his fellowship in neonatology at the BC Women's Hospital / University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. His key interests are in neonatal nutrition and growth. Dr. Maugo has been involved in development of neonatal guidelines in Kenya, establishment of kangaroo mother care at the Kenya National Hospital. He's an instructor in emergency triage and treatment, that is ETAT, trainings, and he's a faculty member of the Newborn Essential Solutions and Technologies Initiatives, in short, NEST 360. With that kind of accomplishment, with all those kind of accomplishments, Dr. Maugo, kindly tell us your experience that got you so far to where you are right now. Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Teresa. That's quite an introduction for myself. As she said, I'm Dr. Maugo Brian. I'm one of your lecturers at the University of Nairobi. And I think my journey into medical school started about 20 years ago. I think 2001 is when I joined the University of Nairobi as an undergraduate. That time we were doing 5 years program. You guys are doing 6 years, right? So 5 years of undergraduate at the University of Nairobi. My primary goal was to actually get everything done before I reached 30 years old. So I was done by med school by around 24, went out, practiced as an intern in Meru for that 1 year, did a bit of medical officer for about 8 months, and came back to do my undergraduate, my postgraduate in pediatrics and child health, which I completed in 2012. After that, I did a bit of registration period, which we normally do, takes about 2 years. I practiced an extra 1 year as a pediatrician. And then after that, 2015, I joined the faculty at the University of Nairobi as a lecturer. An opening was there, did my interviews and I passed, so I got in. And at 2017, 2018 to be precise, July, I decided, you know what, I need to get more specialized in what I do. And my passion was neonatology. And that's how I found myself in Canada, Vancouver for 2 years. I've been back for a year now. And you guys will find me specifically in the newborn unit in Kenyatta National Hospital. For those who have interacted with me, hi. For those who haven't interacted with me, you'll interact with me at some point. And I wish you well. Yeah. So yeah, pretty much journey has not been, I can't complain. Obviously medical school is, and all that has been tough. It's tough for everybody, but I just thank God to where I am at the moment. And it's just a question of just being persistent and having clear goals in life on what exactly you want to do, and it can be done as fast as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mogo, for all that. So we'll go straight to the questions. So number one, what are the exams that you did that got you to be able to specialize into? How did you get to neonatology? What are the steps that you took that you got to be able to specialize in neonatology at Canada?
Okay. Now, the thing is, probably I'm coming in at the far end of the whole option, of all the options that you have to be able to practice in Canada. I came in as a fellow. Now, a fellow is someone who's coming in for extra specialized training after already doing their first exams. That's postgraduate, undergraduate, and all that. So I was already a pediatrician, right? So the main thing was for me to come in and just apply as a pediatrician. I'd already had all my qualifications, and it's a whole process. So probably I'll talk about my process, and then I'll wheel back to exactly where you guys are. And we'll touch base on the exam thing. Now, for fellowship for us who have already done undergraduate, postgraduate, it's a bit easier to go into the program because you're not going to stay there forever. They already know you're going to come in and get out. So the first thing was my papers to be, my university, first of all, has to be recognized. So there's that World Medical Association kind of website where all accredited universities are. So you have to go to that website and see if your university is part of it. Thankfully for University of Nairobi, it's part of that. So that's number one. Number two is all your papers have to be put into a system. So you have to go in through the main website that you interact with is what you call the Medical Council of Canada website. And there will also something called physicianapply.ca. So the Medical Council of Canada will always tell you what your requirements are. The website, but for verification of papers, you'll have to apply to a website called physicianapply.ca, and this is basically an accreditation system. It is usually it's the same as EFMCG, the one for the US, and this you have to put in your papers there. Obviously, you have to pay a fee. It can go all the way up to about 100,000 to just get into that system. And once you're in, your papers are in, they're verified. And once you get that done, your papers can be sent to all the institutions that you want to apply. They will always look at that to see if your papers are accredited. Now, once that is done, the whole process is for fellowship is very easy as compared to the other ones, which I'll talk about. For fellowship, much easier. What happens is you apply to the university, you do an interview. If you're suitable, they call you in. They'll check if there's any other Canadian who can fill up that spot. If there's nobody who can fill up that spot, what happens is they'll pick you. And then it's a whole process of getting you into the country. And these are more in terms of immigration purposes. They have to go through a lot of waivers for you to be able to work there. And once you're there, once all the paperwork is there, you will be able to join the university or the medical school. You know, it's not like here where Kenyatta and University of Nairobi are like interlinked, or you're in the university program. What happens is a hospital is accredited by a university to be able to offer that fellowship. And what happens is once you go in, you work in a hospital, but the accreditation will be at the university level. Will give you the degree or the paperwork that you require to be recognized as a neonatologist, but you don't really interact with them directly. But there are certain people who are within that hospital who represent the university. So I joined the British Columbia. Women's Hospital, which is part of the University of British Columbia, accredited by the University of British Columbia, and that's where I practiced for 2 years. Now, definitely it was an interesting experience. They pay you, of course, to work there. It's a limited time period of 2 years. You can extend for 3 years before you come back. And it's something that if you stick in the country for a bit longer and you do all your other stuff like postgraduate, it's something I'll be able to encourage. It's very easy to get in as a fellow, as long as you know your stuff and you have a good interview. They'll be able to take you in because they know you're not there for a long time, probably the 2 or 3 years. Then you come back to the country. Yeah. So I'll have to take you back to probably what is important to you guys. Now, the thing about Canada is it's one of, I'll be very honest, it's one of the toughest countries to be able to practice as a medical doctor. More so, the spots are few. The spots offered to international medical graduates are very few. Let's start with that. So if it's one of the options that you want to actually go with as initially, it is one of the tougher routes because you will take a bit of time before you get into residency. Because I'm assuming all of you are already in medical school, you want to go into residency. So I'll wheel back again and look at what happens from the beginning. So in Canada, you cannot get into medical school, into any of the medical school unless you're a Canadian or a permanent resident of Canada. So you have to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident of Canada. That's the bottom line. Let's agree on that, okay? So you already know that is your first step. The same principle applies to you entering residency. You must be a citizen or a permanent resident status, which means you have stayed in Canada for 2 years to get the PR status so that you can be able to apply to enter any of this. Now, the medical schools in Canada are about 17, if I'm not wrong. And there are very few of them that even allow you as a Kenyan to be able to apply into that system. There are certain ones like the ones in Quebec. These are French-based schools and the training is in French. They allow a bit of their French people from France to get in through the medical school. But you as a Kenyan, it might be a bit difficult because the slots are not available. So first of all, you must start your process at trying to become a citizen or a permanent resident. So 2 years. So how do you get those 2 years in? You go to Canada. If this is what you're going to tell your people who have not joined med school, you go to Canada, join a mid-level university, just a normal one, do your bachelor's degree for that's 2 years to 3 years, even up to 4 years, a bachelor's degree. That will give you time to become a permanent resident, okay? That will give you time for you to become a permanent resident. And now it will allow you to apply for medical school. Now, if you apply for medical school, if you're a permanent resident and all that, you'll have to wait for your slots. Now, the amount of fees that you need to pay for that, if you're a Canadian or a PR, probably you're going to pay about 13,000 Canadian dollars per year. So that's subsidized by the taxpayer. If you're coming from outside, you will need to pay double that, about 23,000 Canadian dollars. So you're looking at multiplying that by about 8. So it's about 1.62 million kind of per year for every medical year. So, and this, as I'm talking about this, is because, and this is when you have access to that spot. These are very limited. I repeat again, the first step is for you to become a Canadian or a permanent resident of Canada. Citizenship is 5 years. So, but 2 years will give you at least the first set. Now, I've seen someone asking about, I can't seem to see the chat. Let me just try and see. Someone has asked about which type of degree can you be able to go with. The initial bachelor's degree, doesn't matter what you do, even if it's mathematics, even if it's physiotherapy, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. As long as you have that first degree and it's accredited in our Canadian institution. Once you get there and you have your permanent residence, you can apply to join medical school. Now, medical school is about 2 years. There are 2 preclinical years and 2 clinical years. It's about 4 years medical school. So once you do those medical schools, the 4 years, you now need to apply for residency, okay? Now, this is for them. they go into what, like in the US, this is matching. They have a website that you can be able to access that does the matching for the residency. You do your official application there. Now, this is where the nitty-gritty comes in, and this is where you guys might actually be caught up in this whole residency program in Canada. As I said again, in Canadian system, they have preference for their Canadian people, their citizens and their PR. So that is one of the issues. So they give preference for their Canadian trained medical students first. In the matching component, they only give preference in the first round. The rounds are usually 2. The first round is purely for Canadian medical graduates. So you can imagine you will not be part of the first round. So you come in as the second round. Now the second round, it will involve international medical graduates. These are Canadian citizens who practiced in other countries. Okay. Number 2, it will involve other international graduates from other medical schools. So you're already in a situation where, one, your slots have already been taken. Now you're being left with the other extra slots. I'll be very honest, the slots that are available to the IMGs are very few. And this depends on province by province. Canada has a couple of provinces, and each of them has their own medical council. They have their own KMPDB. So you have the main council being the Canadian Medical Council, the Medical Council of Canada, sorry. Then each province has their own medical council, which determine who comes into their country. So you can get a situation where the pediatric residency, for example, you may have a few slots, probably less than 16 slots available to international medical graduates, okay? So you already see the dilemma that you have. You're fighting for the same slots with guys from the UK, guys from the US, guys from Australia, guys from India, well, all over the world for a few slots, and they're very competitive. So that is where the problem comes in with Canada's system. It's more pro-Canadian, and as much as they have a doctor's crisis or a medical medical personnel crisis in their country, they are good the way they are. They prefer, first of all, to fill up the slots for the Canadian because they believe that, one, the taxpayers' money has been put into these students, and we rather make sure our people get those slots first. Then now everybody else can come into play. This is not something that you should worry about so much. Of course, no, let me not lie. It should be something that should be at the back of your mind. But if you really, really feel like you need to go through, it's something and you really want to pursue it, there are various other channels, small little channels that you can use to probably increase your chances of getting into the Canadian system. Okay, but coming from University of Nairobi straight to the residency program in Canada might be a bit difficult. That's all. Now, each province may have certain other aspects that may be available to IMGs, but this will mean that you'll probably be given a job and you'll probably be sent to up there in the north. If you look at Canada, most of the residency is actually on the lower part of Canada. This is a country of about 30-something million people, but most of the people stay down here in the lower ends. A big chunk of the country is uninhabitable. So you end up with very small communities out there in the snowy, rocky areas. And that's where probably they might send you to work and be sponsored to work there in return to what they'll do for you in terms of allowing you to practice in Canada. But this one, you'll have to look into the various provinces and the medical councils within the provinces that they have this type of slots. Like Alberta, for example. Alberta is towards the western side of Canada. I was far off in British Columbia, which is the farthest western side of Canada. Now, so there you are. Now, in terms of examination, I'm coming back to what you're talking about, what you asked about, Teresa. Honestly speaking, this for us as in terms of the Canadian system and us Kenyan, there are two or three exams that you're meant to do. And basically, the Canadian system provides you to do 3 exams before you enter their program. So one is called the MCCQE. The MCCQE, basically what it means is you end up with an exam, and this is basically just a written exam. It's a 1 day. It can be done in a prometric center. These are just a center a center in any part of the accredited center, any part of the world. You need to look at the prometric center that is closer to you. I suspect there was one in Kenya. I'm not sure if it was Computer Pride, if I'm not wrong. With this one, it's just purely an MCQ. And this MCQ basically, we look at various things. One of them is just assessment and diagnosis, management, communication, behavioral, professional behavior, and look at various dimensions to it, which are looking at health promotion, acute and chronic illnesses, and psychosocial aspects of healthcare. And it's usually marked according to what is there. It's pretty much closer to the USMLEs and the Mcats and all that are out there for examination. So this is the first one. Now for medical, for you to be licensed in Canada, you should have done that exam. Okay, remember you still have to get a license at some point before you even do any kind of thing. So you should be able to be licensed as a medical professional in that country. So MCCQ is one of the tests that you need to do. That's one of the exams that are a must. The other exam will be MCCQ. That one can be done outside the country, of course. But when you go to Canada, now you do the MCCQE 2 examination, MCC exam 2, which is done in Canada itself. And also you do your national assessment collaboration exam. These are basically the National Association collaboration exam is usually done prior to going into, you should have done it prior to going to examination. And basically it assesses you as a person if you are ready to enter a Canadian residency program. And if the MCCQ is like a finality to the MCCQA1, and basically again looks at the same things that were being assessed in MCCQ2, and basically looking at all those dimensions that we talked about and all those physician activities, just looking at your assessments, looking at issues of chronic or acute illnesses, and aspects of psychosocial aspects and all that. So all of them basically looking around the same thing. But the NSC is the one that should be done prior to actually entering a residency program. And this basically looks at, it's like an OSCE of some sort that actually looks at your suitability to enter a residency program. But before you reach that level, it means you'll have already spent a couple of years trying, first of all, to become a Canadian resident, a Canadian permanent resident, okay? So you probably will have to be working somewhere for a period of time or be in college somewhere for a period of time. And then once you've achieved that, you can be able to put yourself available to be able to be chosen as part of your as part of the residency, to go into the residency pool for IMGs and hopefully being picked from there. And this should be there. You should be able to actually have number 1, your MCCQ1, that's number 1. You should have your NAC ready. You should be licensed to work in Canada as a medical doctor. Remember, licensure should have already been given to you by the MCC to be able to practice in Canada. You should have a Canadian residency or a PR showing there. You should have done an English exam, IELTS, IELTS. You should have already done, and you know the points are available to you online on what is required of you. It requires you should have gotten at least 7.5 in all of them with a minimum, I think, of 7, if I'm not wrong. And this will be able to put you in the pool. Once you want to apply the residency program, you have to go into their website for matching and make your applications there. But you may discover the interviews and writing of your own personal statements is something that you need to work on first. So that 2 years or that time prior to applying, you should have already done so many things. They have very few, how do you call it? They have certain criteria of things that you will have already done prior to joining the residency program. Community health, work, where have you worked? Your personal, as in they have to look at everything. They have to see what have you done for the Canadian society. So you have to write a very good statement, and this you can be building up, or you can get someone who can be able to assist you to write a proper personal statement that needs to be sent as part of your application so that you can actually be considered. Some of these things, just reach them and they rubbish them away. It has to be very appealing to whoever is actually listening to that. I think I'll stop there so that you can ask further questions. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start with the ones in the chat. Are you able to work in Canada as a medical doctor after doing fellowship? And I think you touched on it because fellowship is easily gotten because you won't stay there for long. Please delve, if at all, you're able to stay.
It's actually possible. I actually came back because I needed to come back to my family, but it's possible. You can actually stay in Canada. There are various ways you can manage to stay there. Now, this might be the trick that can be used. So you get a fellowship program. It is 2 years. It will guarantee you, but by the time you're doing your 1 year or so of the fellowship, you actually be able to apply for your permanent residency as a medical doctor there, as a fellow. The second year, you can do that. By the time you finish the 2 years, you can actually end up being a PR. And this will give you an opportunity to apply for jobs there. And this can either be one, you can extend your fellowship to another, for another 1 year as you think about it. 2, you can go into another fellowship program that keeps you within the system. That's 2. And then 3, you can actually join a research fellowship. These are different, away from the medical, from the bedside. It can keep you there for quite some time. And this will allow you to do certain things. It will allow you to do your MCC QE, your MCC Q2, and also allow you to do your NSC and sit for the Canadian, sit for the residency exam that they have over there. But this will require a bit of sponsorship from the province. There's a lot of paperwork that needs to be done for that. On the other hand, you can decide to stay as what they call clinical associate. You are under someone. You have a license that is under someone. The province will give you, that province will give you a license, but it will be under observership or you'll be working under someone. Most of it will mean that you'll be working in a hospital for the rest of your life. You won't have your own, they don't have private practice anyway. So, but you will not be allowed to, let's say, have a private practice or any, open up your clinic that is usually connected to the government. You cannot do that. You cannot practice independently outside that hospital that you have been actually licensed to work with and whoever you're under. Most people have opted for that. It's an easier way to stick around Canada. There's nothing wrong with it. You can work in the neonatology environment. You are a neonatologist, you have done the fellowship, but you'll always be known as a Canadian, as a clinical associate, because there's also exams that are required for you to do to become a Canadian, a Royal College of Canada kind of doctor. You have to pass the Royal College exams to be recognized as a true fellow of the Royal Canadian College of Physicians and Surgeons. That is their main kind of title that they tend to have. Yeah, so that's one way. But most of the time you'll be running around, not really, you'll be working from one spot to the other. But as long as you're a PR or a Canadian citizen, your pay would be much better as opposed to a fellow who's coming from outside. Yeah.
Okay. With the exam periods, please delve more into the periods that they take in terms of MCC QE1 and all that.
So I think I'd love to tell you exactly how the timelines are. For example, if you are, most of the time you get these exams are done in about, like the MCCQEs are done 5 times a year. So you have to do your MCCQE, and probably this will be the first one to do, and you can do it anytime between April and November. You can start your application around, let's say, spring. Spring is just after winter, right? So around now, this is around April, around March, April, May. That's around where spring falls into play. Yeah. So around that time, you can make your applications for both MCCQ1 and NAC. Once you do the MCCQ1, you'll be able to do that exam around between April and November, let's say this year, April and November 2021. There are 5 times per year, so you can pick up whatever time you need. Then now you can follow up. Once you do your MCCQ, you can do your NAC exam sometime later on in, let's say, September, that's fall. Once you do that, once you get your stuff, you make sure that you have gotten your results, and then that's when you apply. And you're going to apply to the following year in 2022, when they open up there. The matching that is meant to be there is you're applying for the following year. That's 2022. If you're applying this year, you'll be applying for the match in 2022. So you apply towards the end of the year, September onwards, and around spring next year, that's around April, that's when they actually confirm that you're a candidate or a graduate to join the R1, the residency matching, the first, whichever program that you've chosen. But before you apply for your matching, you need to have actually done you've gotten your MCCQE Part 1 exam and your NAC exam results. The MCCQE Part 2 are usually required during the program as you do your residency. It's not necessary for you to have the MCCQE2 before asking for matching. It's during residency that you'll be able to do it, and it should be there before you do your Royal College exam for your specialty of choice. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Kamau, please ask other more questions. I think Kamau is still experiencing technical difficulties. I'll go right ahead. So speaking about working as a clinical associate, how is the pay? That is a question on the chat.
Yeah, so probably, how can I put it? So as a fellow, when I went to Canada, I was being paid about 72,000 Canadian dollars per year. Give and take, that's about 300, 400,000 per month. Now, Canadians will be paid, or for Canadian associates, they'll be paid slightly, it depends on where you are. If you're a Canadian citizen, most likely to go to a double or a 3 times that. But more so if you have the Royal College, if you have the Royal College accreditation, which it takes time, you won't get it immediately. You need to stick around for a bit of time and get some channels to be able to do the exam. If you have it, it actually goes towards the 3 or 4 times what I was earning. Okay, so you get the earning about 200 to 300,000 Canadian dollars per year. It looks like a lot of money. I know you guys are just looking at it and like, whoa, that's a lot of money. Let me tell you, Canada is the most expensive country I've ever lived in personally. I think I've gone to various countries, and I think Canada is one of the most expensive ones. Meaning, part of your pay, a big chunk of it goes into tax. Why do they tax you so well? You think KRA is something that taxes you a lot? No, Canadian taxation is quite huge. But the beauty about the Canadian taxation, it goes to exactly what it is meant to do. And here we are looking at free medical healthcare. We are looking at subsidized education, university education, free education for your children, and everything else that is around you, security, whatnot, all those things that are meant to, amenities that are meant to function for you are working very well for you. So even if you're taxed, I mean, you're not going to pay a medical bill. I was there in my institution was the neonatology unit at BC Women's. One night for a baby in the NICU was 10,000 Canadian dollars. So you're looking at $1 million bob per night. But the baby will stay there even up to 6 months of age, depending on how chronic they are. When I discharge them, they will just walk out. They will never know the bill. They will never know how much it costed. They will just walk out and be like, oh, we are done. They will walk out. They will not be asked about a single coin. That's what it means to have a working taxpayer system, a taxation system. So that taxation that you get on your pay is okay. It's going somewhere. The goods are expensive, of course. So if you want to buy something and you end up spending quite a lot of money on your daily living, of course, transport and shopping for your household and all that, because everything is quite taxed. You remember, you're taxed twice. You're taxed for the government, the main federal government, and taxed the second time for the provincial government. Each of them has a tax. So you end up having a high cost of living. That's why they pay you every 2 weeks, so that you don't go broke. Like a Kenyan, you'll just go broke. If you're paid for 1 month, you'll just die. In 2 weeks, you're done. So there they actually pay you every 2 weeks so that you can actually survive. And most of the time you'll be paying some bills. You're always paying some bills. So it's not so bad. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let me go back to the questions we had set apart for you. Under the requirements and application process, first of all, can you use the Mcat to enter into the Canadian program?
No, you can't. You can do that exam, but as long as it's okay to have it. I don't think what benefit it will add actually, because you'll still have to do the exams. Everything is null and void. Whatever you have done becomes null and void at that point in time. Remember, you have to start everything afresh. Exactly what they want is what you need to do. Yours is just coming that you've been trained in a university that has actually been accredited to be a medical school, the University of Nairobi. So that will be one of the considerations, of course. They will not make you repeat your undergraduate. No, let me not make that correction if you're coming into residency, but you still have to do the exams and prove yourself beyond reasonable doubt that you're actually quite good at what you do to allow you to go in there. Yeah.
You have spoken about the Royal College accreditation. How long does it take to get there? And also, what does it also entail?
Well, the Royal College exams are basically after residency. So when you do your master's, you do your undergraduate. So you get your university degree. The main exam that you need to do is your MCCQ1 and the NSC, and apply for your matching. Go through the interviews, that's fine. So when you become a Royal College Fellow is when you've done your residency. So that is the exam they offer. And like here in the University of Nairobi, where there's a master's program with a master's degree, they don't have like that. You have to do a Royal College exam. One of the toughest I've ever seen, actually, from what I always look at. Those guys read. They read very well. Throughout their 3 years or so of residency, they just read. And they're very good at their knowledge. I'll be very honest. They're very good at their knowledge because they're constantly reading for that exam. And that exam, you just take it when you're ready. There's nothing like you need to have passed. You take it when you're ready. You cannot be unemployed and they may not refuse to pay you a salary or whatnot. No. When you're ready, you do it. The faster, the better. So it involves you doing at least, these are like what? The exams last about 4 or 5 hours. That's an MCQ and an essay. Then you have an OSCE at the same time. So you have 2 papers which you have to pass before you even do the OSCE, and then the OSCE, and then that's it. Once you get that, all the perks and everything that comes with being a Royal College Fellow becomes yours. They are very, very good negotiated rates for fellow Royal College graduates that puts you at a very good pay. Remember, you're being paid by the government. So it has been negotiated by doctors and whatnot to be able to get a certain pay, which is guaranteed. And it has already been discussed between the government and you. They don't have private sector hospitals. It's all under the government. Yeah.
While in fellowship, there's a question on the chat. Say you're not able to get a well-paying job like a clinical associate. What are the kind of jobs you can do that will sustain you on your pathway to becoming a PR also?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one, Yeah. First of all, when you're a fellow, try and see if you can get your permanent residency from day one, because it just requires you to do 1 year, then you enter, you can be able to apply. But once your fellowship is over, you have to be very careful because it's limited within a certain, the visa is limited for that period of time. Okay, so if you said your fellowship is 2 years, it's gonna be limit. Your visa ends at 2 years. After that, you're persona non grata, you're an alien, you're actually there illegally, they'll have to boot you. So you should have started your PR work mapema. Once you start with that, once you get it, at least you can stick around Canada and now start looking for jobs. Now, what jobs can you look at? You can look at research, working at a research lab, look for other non-medical, away from the patient, because you're not allowed to touch a patient. I remember the letter I got when my license ended was very clear. Do not go to hospital, do not touch any patient. Those things are written all over in that letter. So you're not allowed to go near the patient. Look for jobs which are outside the medical career, outside the bedside. If you're gonna be in a lab, in a pharmacy, that's fine, as long as you're not touching a patient, okay? Now, as a PR, the jobs are there. Unfortunately, we may end up doing some funny jobs that may not be okay for you. It depends on how desperate you want to stay in that country. These are very menial jobs. Unfortunately, the people who get best pays are the ones who are the technical universities, Technical University of Kenya and all those guys who are doing manual work. They're the ones who actually get better pay. For you, it will be a bit of a struggle to get into small jobs here and there just to be able to sustain yourself. So you're gonna struggle. You're gonna struggle a lot. But if you have done your planning mapema and you've started quite early in terms of arranging stuff for yourself and your mind is very clear that you want to stay in Canada, then that should not be a problem. Don't surprise yourself that, oh, I don't have the job now, I need to look for a job. You're gonna suffer a lot. You're gonna suffer a lot. You'll find yourself in the streets if you're not careful. Yeah.
Okay. Are there student loans during the residency period?
Yeah, if you're not a Canadian citizen or a PR, there's no loans you're going to be offered, of course. But for fellowship and all that, of course, you can't. If you're not a Canadian citizen or a PR, you cannot be offered loans. Let's agree on that. But remember, that is already a requirement. You should already have that. So if you have the citizenship and PR, you have access to government loans. So they are there. And other scholarships may be available to you as a resident, yeah, to pay your own bills and all that.
Okay, another question is, what is the paperwork to getting that PR? What does the paperwork entail?
Pause. Let me go back on that. The thing is, on terms of the residency, you don't get loans, sorry. Loans are only given to medical school. As a resident, you're already being paid. I think it's slightly about $60,000 a year. So it's not a lot also. So there you don't get loans. You're actually going to be paying loans if you're in the Canadian system, in undergraduate. If you're in the undergrad, you should be paying your loans as a resident, of course. But residency, they don't offer you. You're actually paid. And someone asked, even fellowship, you're actually also paid. Yeah. You're asking about getting into Canada in terms of citizenship and all that. Yeah, I think that is beyond what I'm expected to know, but I'll tell you. I'll just try and get what it is. There are many channels that are available where they look at your skills, and this you have to go to the Canadian website, visa website, and this is just, if you just Google it, you're going to get into that website. And what they look at, basically, there are various channels. So they're skilled workers. You accumulate points according to what you have actually been doing. The paperwork is quite rigorous. If you're a doctor, your chances are much higher. If you have stayed in Canada for 1 year, that's even higher. You get points for such things. You should have done your English exam before even applying for that. And then now you go into, you apply and you wait to be picked one way or another. They'll be able to look and match. Now it depends on the province. The provinces also have demands on what workers they want. That's why I'm telling you, people who are even easier to go there are guys who are doing manual work, technical work. It's easier for them to go into those countries because the jobs are available as opposed to the medical field and all that. So that process is there, and there are like 2 or 3 channels that you can use, depending. You can use the provincial component, or you can use the national component, where they'll be able to assist you, assist you in terms of getting PR status. But you actually might require an agent to help you out because the paperwork is quite a lot. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So what about non-clinical master's programs? Is it easy to get into them, and are jobs available thereafter?
Wow, the problem will be the amount of money that you need to pay for the training and the university, right? Yeah, it's much easier, because the medical field is a monopoly. And people protect themselves faster, so before they allow other people to come in. So the bottom line with Canadian system is that they prefer their Canadian people to get their slots. Then whatever is remaining, you need to prove yourself beyond reasonable doubt that you're actually quite good, and then you'll be able to apply. Now, the other thing will be you need to pay a certain cost. And the fees are quite exorbitant, and they can be quite costly to you. You need to have that money. You need to prove that you can pay those fees. A lot of international students, the universities in Canada are one of the best in the world. University of Toronto, University of British Columbia, they are up there in the rankings, most likely the top 10, top 20 universities in the world. So you need to be able to pay that fee. It can be quite a lot, 3-4 million of money. And that is just fees. You haven't even sorted out your stay there, which is also much more costlier. So it is okay. It's easier to go into other non-medical fields as opposed to the medical fields. Yeah. Yeah, we can't hear you. Mike.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for pointing it out. So I'm reading a question in the chat. What are the best residency programs in Canada? Are there some programs that have a better chance than others for international applicants? And would you recommend Canadian programs over residency programs in other countries? Yes.
Family medicine. That is the only answer I can put up. That seems to be the easier path for people to go in, family medicine. Guys have actually, I think they use a different system. I wasn't very clear about that when my friends were there who have done family medicine, and they actually got in, my colleagues who are in undergraduate, they really got in quite quickly into that. The thing about family medicine, Canada really insists on that, on preventive care. And there's many, there are a lot of residents, international residents who have taken up family medicine as a practice. It is not a bad option. It is something that you may need to look at, and they have their own website on family medicine and the Royal College of Family Physicians. They'll be able to guide you on how to go through that. This pathway, at the end of the day, you still have to do the licensing component. But now with family medicine and practice, it is actually something that many provinces would like guys to go in. They don't like specialists. They like people who can actually go down into the community and work there. And this is where now you get there a lot of slots for international medical graduates out there. So that is one way. It is quite fulfilling, and life continues after that. Yeah? If you wanted to be something specific, unfortunately, that may not happen. You'll just be a jack of all trades. You'll be able to do everything, like a medical officer, but you're touching on everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So let's delve more about the costs. In terms of the exams, how much do they cost? Roughly how much? Yes.
Now, the cost for the exams, if I'm trying to remember what exactly the costs were, if anything, they must be possible. They're costing anything between around $1,000 each, if I'm not wrong. But I'll have to be able to look back and see. I can try and see. It was about $1,000 to $1,500, but I can confirm that as you move on. Yeah.
Are there waivers offered for the exams?
No. You're unalipa too. Yeah. You just pay. So if I can, the exam fees for MCCQ1 were $1,330. And that was it. So 1,300, that's to apply for it and be able to sit for it. 1,330 Canadian dollars. That costs you about 100,000 bob. Yeah. There are various ways you can appeal, you can do rechecking, blah, blah, blah. All of them have costs, but I know it was 1,330. Yeah. And they don't give waivers. They're very tough on that. You're unalipa too. You just pay.
Okay. Other costs are, for instance, air travel, accommodation, local transport, food, and utility. How much do you compare them roughly in terms of other?
Okay, so to get to Canada, I just reminded me of my story when I wanted to go there, because I didn't know. You look at Canada on a map and you think it's just around the corner, right? You can just point it. It's up there in a corner somewhere. But that place is very far. Canada is one of the largest countries in the world. Just to fly from one corner of Canada, you're in Canada, but to reach where I was in western part of Canada, it took about 6 hours. So you see how massive that landscape is. To come from Kenya to Canada, it costs you about $2,000, if anything, one way. It can cost you as high as $2,000 one way. Or if in a good time when things are not as bad as now, it can be $2,000, a return ticket for about $2,000, $2,500. So you can already see what the cost of a flight would be. You're looking at upwards of $200,000 to $300,000, 300 Kenya shillings, just to go there and come back. The cost of living is not bad. Depends on which province you as I told you earlier, it can be quite costly, but the transport system is quite good. You can pay. For me, for example, to get to work, I used to pay. There's a system that was there, a train system, bus system that are all interconnected. So you pay once a month, and I used to pay about $100 per month. And that's about 8,000 bob. So you can be able to get into any train, any bus without paying anything. Give and take, you can do the math. I know here it's a bit cheaper. And well, now the thing is, do you need a car or not? Getting a car is also another expensive thing. The insurance, to be precise, is quite expensive. But if you're staying there for longer, I'd rather even get a car so that you can be able to see the countryside and see the whole country. It's quite beautiful. If you're basically just coming there for work purposes and coming back like me, using the public transport was an option. There are various cars that you can hire. They're always sitting on the streets. You can just get an app, press some few buttons, the car will open and you can drive around with it and take it back. But that was the option that you'll have. You need obviously to get a Canadian driving license, which is also another process on its own. But in terms of utilities and all that, internet, such things that are very important to us nowadays, you get internet for quite cheap, $75 a month. That's about 10,000, but your GB is about 75 GB per minute. Your rates, it's not like here where you have just your very limited speeds. I was very shocked when I could see a 75 on mine. I was like, how fast can this be? And you can just do a lot of stuff with that. It's too much for you. TV is also another component. Cable, electricity are not so expensive. I don't think I ever paid for water. I think water was free, if I'm not wrong. There's something about me not seeing a water bill, but maybe it was part of my rent. But I don't think I ever saw a water bill. Electricity will cost upwards of $50 a month. So it's also expensive. But compared to what you're being paid, it's not so bad. Rent is expensive. $1,000, for $1,000, you're pretty much staying in a bed sitter. Let's agree on that. Yeah, so you're about paying $80,000 to $100,000 Kenya shillings to just sit in a bed sitter or be underneath someone's house in a basement apartment. But at around $1,500 to about $2,000 is a bit okay. But it depends on which part of the city you are. The closer you are to the city, the more likely you're gonna pay more. 2,000 and above, yeah. So 160 to 200,000 per month. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of scholarship, do we have scholarships, first of all, other than the ones that when you are inside the program as a Canadian citizen or a PR that you are not paying anything? And how much of the fee cost do scholarships cover?
It depends on what is available. Fortunately for these guys, they offer a lot. You really need to look for these scholarships. They are available both at the federal level, at the provincial level, and the institutional level. You need to apply for these scholarships, especially if you are going there as an undergraduate. I'm assuming some of you are thinking of, let me start afresh. So for those who think want to start afresh or jump the ship and go work, start going to school there will be some elements, some scholarships which can cover as much as 50 to 100%. Yeah.
What are the popular scholarships to apply for?
Well, that's a very difficult one to answer because there are so many. I will not be able to say. I wouldn't be able to say which ones are popular than the other. I'm not equipped to answer that question quite well, so I'll just leave it at that. But you have to go to. What happens is you're meant to go and apply for your medical school. When you apply for your medical school, you'll see a list of scholarships that are available to you. The best thing is to start applying for those scholarships. They're not hiding anything. They're there for you. Just apply. You'll be lucky to get one or two options there for you, and you just apply and hopefully you get in. Yeah. And this,
okay, now we're talking.
And this varies. And this varies. Sorry to say, this varies from province to province. Remember where I stayed, the British Columbia is one province. It is 2 times the size of Kenya. That's just one province. So there are multiple provinces and they have their own rules and regulations, and they offer different scholarships depending on their needs.
Okay, thank you. So now we're talking about exams once more. What advantages do these MCCQE exams offer as compared to USMLEs or PLAB and any other international accreditation?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just limited to the Canadian system. Yeah. I mean, if you do it, it's basically you've told yourself you want to go into the Canadian system. It does not apply outside Canada, and it doesn't help you outside Canada. So if you're applying, it's basically their own system. That's what they want to have. USMLEs may not apply in Canada at all. And other PLABs and all that don't apply in Canada. You can do them, but you'll still have to do the MCCQEs. There's no like interchangeability between the two. If you're doing the USMLEs, another way of getting into the Canadian system is to go into the US program. And once you're in the US program, which is much easier to access compared to the Canadian system, you can apply and work around it to be able to get into the Canadian system. A longer approach, but it seems if your goal is to go into Canada for reasons, basically family, and you want a good place where your children can stay, you can use the US to be able to enter the Canadian system. They have more, the US kind of residency program or training like medical school is considered to be a bit more. They consider it more than any other in the world. So they have actually, if you're trained in the US, they look at you much, they will not be as stringent as opposed to other places in the world. Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Yes, kindly go on, Kamal.
Oh, sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm back. Before I ask another question, I don't know if this is a mistake, but Samantha, your hand is up. You wanted to ask a question? Okay, I guess Samantha raised her hand by hand accident. So again, with the theme of exams, we want to know, assuming you do go into you want to go into the matching system, the second match, are there ways you can stand out and improve your chances of getting matched to a residency? And does that depend on the difficulty of the residency program or the competitiveness of said program?
That's a good question. I mean, this is what I always tell guys. Kenyans, we tend to sell ourselves very short. We don't like putting ourselves out there. To get into a residency program, they really need to look at you as your character and exactly what you have written as your personal statement. The interview is usually just to assess who you are. The components you have already passed, that's already there. But now the interview that you require to go into the residency program is very crucial, and you require a lot of training in that and practice. So you might need to really prepare for it and be outstanding. You have to speak out. You have to be able to communicate properly. You need to have written a wonderful personal statement that was part of your application, so that they can be able to consider you as a resident, as a doctor worth are able to join their residency program. Yeah.
Okay, I'll carry on. How long are the results valid? For instance, if you've done the exam and you have not proceeded to the next step, how long are the exams valid?
You do it only once. I don't think you do another receipt, okay? But you know, when you want to go into the residency program, you should not be 5 years after you finished your undergraduate. They will not take you in. They will not take you in. Once you have done the first one, you know you have to be in the residency program within that 5 years from when you finish your undergraduate schooling. Anything more than that, it means you need to really think about starting afresh. Yeah. They will not be able to pick you for their residency program. And funnily enough, if you're very, very experienced, it will still not count. So you need to just start the whole process afresh. Yeah.
Okay, so to build on that, what time do you think would be the best?
Sorry, come out. Let's look.
In terms of a timeline, sorry?
Your audio is quite not okay, but I can get the gist of what you're asking. Or is it me who's having a bad network? Sorry.
No. As well, I can't hear him. Kindly go on.
But I could get the gist of what you're trying to ask. What timelines or when do you start? Have you started thinking about doing it now? Have any of you started thinking about your SMLEs now? Have you guys started thinking about your MCATs now? We're not looking at you doing your internship and internship and starting to think. Your brain is right now deep into medical school. You're able to look at all this physiology, psychiatry, pharmacology, pediatrics, internal medicine. It's all fresh. It's all fresh. So you should be already, by now you should be ready to be thinking about doing something about the future. If you haven't thought about it and you're thinking about going it, your time is about to end. So you have internship to do these things. You have probably the first year of the internship to do this, and you have the next 2 years, starting from your 4th year, 5th year period, 5th year, 6th year period, to already start putting these things into motion, so that by the time you're doing and finishing these things, you're not wasting a lot of time. You have not wasted time out there. You have not even tested money, because once you finish school, once you test a new world, everything just goes out. Some of you will get other interests. Some of you will get children. Some of you will be married for whatever reason. You'll be stuck and you start doing the proper adulting that we all talk about. You sticking around and doing a lot of adulting that is quite a task, and you may forget or maybe derail from what you really wanted to do. So I really urge you to start doing it when you're still young, within the next, from around 5th year, 6th year, when you're doing so that memory or that knowledge that you have for your end of year final exam at medical school will still remain intact for even those MCATs and MCCP. I can gladly say we are quite brilliant. So I believe if you have that and do it quite early, you should be able to pass any exam. Yeah.
Kindly, at this juncture, I would like the audience members to unmute and ask their questions. Yes, so the floor is open for discussion.
But even before we continue, there's a question that I've seen here that is, please share your experiences on social support, Kenyan community and societies in light of being away from home and extended period of time. Yeah, there's a large Kenyan community in Canada, of course, but it depends on which province you are. I think I went to a province where there are very few Kenyans. Precisely, I will get their communities, but they were staying very far from where I was staying. But there was a large Canadian community there, but as I said, far away from where I was staying. The institution that I was probably the first Kenyan to be there. So of course they were like, who's this? Where are you from? Where's Kenya? They always call me a Nigerian. I got pissed off for all the time. Why are they calling me Nigerian? Nigeria is not Africa. So I always kept reminding them about that. And I don't know why they thought I was from Uganda. They have a lot of projects in Uganda. So they're like, "Ah, you're from Uganda." I'm like, "No, I'm from Kenya." I have to point them up to them. That is Kenya. So, but the community is there. The problem with Canadians, they're even the Kenyan Canadians, they don't interact a lot. They like staying in their own small houses and family kind of thing. They don't do a lot of interactions. So you have to seek them out. Where I was now, more Kenyans have been coming in, so it became a bit easier and easier for me. But if you're in Toronto, which is a very huge, pretty much Toronto is American, right? It looks like American cities. US cities. So there's many Kenyans there. So it's a better environment to be able to function and be able to have a Kenyan community to be able to hang out with and socially. If you're good at making friends, it's possible to hang out with many of them. If you're socially inept, like Brian Maugo, it will take time. So yeah, that's how it is. It depends on how good they are at socializing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Kindly, if you have any other question that you'd like to ask, unmute and ask yourself. But before that, I can see that the chair has raised her hand. Kindly, Winnie, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Tess. And thank you, Dr. Maugo. I have a question concerning, on the social aspect. Was there any time that you experienced any form of racial discrimination in your practice? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, this is a big question. These are something that always comes up. And I don't know why they have made us feel like this. I'll be very honest. This is not the way life should be, right? Where I have to, like now here I'm talking to you guys. I cannot see color. I've never seen. I can't say you're black. I don't know what that means. This is something, a social construct made by the US, I think. But the reality is racism is everywhere. It doesn't matter which country you are in, as long as you're not in your own country. If you're not facing racism, you're going to face xenophobia. So let's agree on that. Now, in the Canadian system, it's frowned upon to be obviously racist, of course. But is it there? Yes, of course. It's a multicultural place. You get many people from China, the US, the Canadian citizens themselves, French people, and other nationalities. And they view blacks definitely very different. Not just blacks, even Indians and Asians and people from the Middle East are seen as very different. And there are layers to that. You find that the black African man, precisely black African man, I think women get a better deal, but the black African man is actually looked upon more strangely. We are more like criminals, right? From the word go, you're a criminal until proven otherwise. But in the workplace, it's a bit different. The rules and regulations in the workplace don't allow that. You cannot. I never faced a single racist remark from anybody. The subtle, what do you call it? Microaggression. Yeah, racial microaggression. Like it's just there, it's because they don't know what you are, who you are, where you're from. So they'll put things which are just like, the little things in the bush thing, the trees thing, dust, things that just you look like and they're like, what's wrong with you? It's just, you're not knowledgeable. That's what I can only say. You have not read properly, don't know about the world. That's their problem. But outside the workplace, you will be thrown at things. Everywhere you go, you are suspect. But it's something you pick up, pole, then you know what, you wonder if you're entering a bus and people stand up so that they don't sit next to you. You ask yourself, who has the problem? Is it me or you? So it's you. So I'll put my legs and my feet and my shoes on top of all the chairs you have left. That's how you go about it. Don't give a hoot about what they think. Yeah. But at work, no. Once you say it, someone is fired immediately. Yeah. The patients, of course, that's a different ballgame. Patients are just patients. And unfortunately for us, you have to be patient with them. So if they unleash something at you, you look and quietly excuse yourself and tell them you cannot see them after that encounter. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. I'll ask another question in the chat. How accessible is it to do the clinical elective term in a Canadian university / hospital?
It's not so bad. You still need to apply. There are many rules and regulations about it, especially observership, elective. One, you'll not touch a patient. Let's agree on that. You will not touch a patient, but you'll do an observership. So going through the observership process is not bad, as long as you can be able to pay for your cost of living in Canada, and that can be sorted out. So you apply. If you have an opportunity to apply, just apply. You'll be accepted. They're very welcoming, and they like people from outside.
Do we have any other more questions from the audience? Kindly raise your hand and then go right ahead. Alco Ruth, please go right ahead. Alco Ruth, kindly host and mute her. Before we have Alco speaking, let's go to Samantha.
I think, number one, I think everyone should be able to unmute themselves, but I'll check on that badai. Yeah, I had a question now from just the entire talk. Like, is it worth it if I'd consider moving to Canada and either studying there or even working there? Like, is it worth it from your perspective, of course?
Wow, that's a good question. If you really want to go somewhere and you're passionate and you want to go there, then you just have to do everything about it. It may be a more painful process compared to other places. And this is where, if you really think Canada is where you want to be, I suggest use other channels. This is through the US or through even the UK. Once you work there and get a lot of experience, start the whole process and see how you can be able to get across. And this, basically, I'm assuming you want to go to the Canada because of what it offers, universal healthcare system, very good place for families and all that. So if you really want to go there, you just have to really push on. And this basically applies to any other place. But is it worth it? I think that's a personal question. You need to ask yourself that question. Would you like to go through that whole process? It's going to be a long process. There are many people who are still waiting and their time passed and now they are doing other things. I met the first person I met in Canada when I landed and I was going to my hotel, my B&B, was a guy who was doing medical school and had finished and had come to Canada and was a taxi driver. Most of the people who are doing things like physiotherapy or what you call chest physio or respiratory therapists, the ones that I met where I worked, these were people who were anesthetists and other, they were very fully fledged anesthetists wherever they were, but because of lack of jobs and all that, they had to actually use another route. So it can be painful. Let's just agree on that. If you change your path away from the clinical setting and it's still medicine, public health, global health, family practice, I'll be able to go to that if it's medical. Medical informatics, those ones you can actually get the job very fast. If you really look for them, you'll get the job, yeah. But away from the bedside, If you're looking to stick around next to a patient, it's gonna be a bit of a task, yeah.
Okay, before we go to Alco Ruth, there's a question on the chat. Is there a difference between doing residency in Kenya and Canada, in your opinion?
Of course. Is there? Oh God, let me not trash the university. I'm part of it, right? How can I put it? Let's just be honest about it. The residency in Canada makes you a good person in reading. The residency in Kenya makes you a very good person in terms of hands-on. I can tell you there are things I looked at in residence there and I wondered, how can you not know how to do that? You don't know how to fix an IV line. It becomes a celebration when you fix an IV line. Because the IV line is fixed by the nurses. It's not a doctor's job. But here we know how to fix it. We need to know how to do certain procedure, exchange transfusion. Let me talk about pediatrics, exchange transfusion, lumbar puncture, all those things, intubation, all that hands-on thing helped me a lot when I was in Canada. You know, guys used to look at me and wonder, hey, what can Brian do? Are you experienced in it? But I never told them how much experience I had working in Kenyatta National Hospital. So they were like, oh, let's intubate Brian. They always get those things of Brian may not be able to do it. They gave you that feel of like you're incompetent in doing it. They don't trust you with that. So when I started doing them, and they were just like, call Brian. Because you can intubate while your eyes are closed even. It's very easy for us to do it because we are experienced at intubating. IV lines, AT lines, all those things that I did as residency and also as a registrar post finishing my postgraduate came into play, and it was quite shocking to them that I can be able to do that stuff. Telling them about my dramas of how I was an obstetrician, how I was a surgeon. Machocha and Dio, they look at you and they're like, my God, are you for real? Are you able to do all these things? But that's how internship made us. We're able to do all these things. We cannot hesitate. And you're even more brave to be able to do procedures because you can never say no. Have you ever done a chest tube? No. Yeah, I've done it. And you go check it out haraka and do it. Okay. So you go and just practice on it. We are not afraid of doing procedures. For them, they don't know that stuff. They are not able. But in terms of reading, they are very well equipped at that. And I think reading, everybody can read, right? Everybody can read. Yeah. Skills, that one requires you to be exposed to them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go to Alco Ruth. Your hand was up.
She seems to be on and off.
Alco Ruth. Let's go to the next person in line. Raysam Akute.
Okay, this is just a follow-up question from what you were talking about. For your case, what was your personal motivation to go to Canada? What were you looking at?
Yeah, that's an absolutely wonderful question. So what did I want to do? So for me, basically, I made up my mind I want to be a neonatologist. So I looked at my options that are available. I already knew there was South Africa, there was the UK, there was Australia, there was the US, and there was this other country that kind of have not had many people going there called Canada. So I went through the whole process of just looking through and reading about the rules and regulations and all these processes that are required. But what I noticed about Canada, number one, why Canada looked like a more appealing thing is because, one, their interview process is not as bad. Two, they pay you during residency. So you need to find a way of getting a source during fellowship, sorry. And you're looking at one of the best medical services in the world, preferably the universal healthcare system. So I'd already gone through what they can be able to do. So for me, that told me, okay, this is the right place to go. I'd already gone to the UK and had a feel of what was there. And I could say, okay, yeah, it's not so bad. But I didn't want to go the rigorous levels of actually doing a lot of exams because I didn't do an exam to join the fellowship. Let me be very clear. I did not do an exam to get into fellowship. They don't require you to do an exam. So that also made it a bit easier for me to access a system that is actually quite open for fellowship. Pretty much that is. My surprise is that when I reached there, I actually got serious medical education. And I'll always forever be grateful about what Canada offered me. Yeah.
Sorry, when you say that the interview process was not as bad, that entails the examinations, or? Yeah,
there was no exam. That's what I'm saying. For fellowship, there was no exam. There was just an interview. My paperwork was put across, my application form and reasons why I needed to do and referees. And once you went through the process, and I even sat, when I sat in the panels for other fellows to come in, when you're invited, I used to be part of the panels there for a year. I could actually see how easy it is to enter the process, because it's just an interview and we look at your paperwork and they see how qualified you are, how many years, what kind of experience you have in the neonatology field. I spent a bit of time in the neonatal ward, so that was enough for me. And that was it. That was it. Then they offer it to you. That's how it is. It's not very difficult to enter a fellowship program, especially I'll speak for neonatology. The other programs are also not so bad. There are guys who have come in to do neurology and all that, pediatrics and all that. The question is how competitive it is. So if you are looking for something that is very competitive, like surgical disciplines, it may take a bit of time to enter those ones. Pediatrics also, some elements of it are a bit competitive. So you just ride your luck and apply as many places as you can in Canada. There are about 7-8 places you can apply. They don't have many universities, but it's possible to get a slot in. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Wambui Effie, kindly go ahead.
Hey, Doc. Thanks so much for the info you've given us.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 questions. So you said family medicine was one of the easier residency programs to match into. But I'm thinking, you know, a lot of us, we got into medicine, wanted to do these specialties like cardiology and neurology, you know, those kind of things. And I'm imagining that it's the same for everyone out there. And that would make those programs really competitive. So aside from the personal statement, what other ways can you make yourself stand out more while you're applying for this? And especially, sorry,
just continue. Sorry.
And especially for some of us here who are in our last years, what ways can we make ourselves stand out a bit more? And my second question would be, so I've gone and I've managed to get into a residency program that I wanted to, and probably I've become a consultant. I've become a registered consultant in Canada. What's the process of coming back to Kenya and being recognized as a consultant if you've gotten that recognition abroad?
Yes. So the thing is this. So once you've done, the steps are as follows. Once you've done your medical school, kindly get your registration as a Kenyan doctor. So go through internship, right? If you don't do internship, you'll never be a doctor in Kenya. Let's agree on that. Okay. There are guys who leave the country, don't do internship, fly out, you'll still come back and do internship. It doesn't matter. Okay. So kindly, I always insist, once you finish your internship, you're good to go. You're already a registered doctor, you can come back and practice whatever time you feel like you need to practice, as long as you pay your annual fees, right? Now, the question is how to look better, how to look more presentable, or kind of just a good candidate. Some people come with experience. Some have experience. It's easier to teach someone who's already been through the process than someone who's not. So you get people who are going there for the residency program, they're coming in for their second residency, okay? Or they've already done residency in their country. So it becomes another way of helping themselves to get through. They have already done their residency. Unfortunately, there are timelines to this. So as I said, if you finish undergraduate, you need about 5 years to be able to have actually got into the residency program. So if you're able to finish school, get back into residency, complete it, and be able to apply, it will give you a better chance of getting in, because you're looking at someone who's has already gone through it, and now you're just coming back for a second residency. You might be considered easier to train, safer to work with, as opposed to someone who was not. But at the end of the day, it depends on how you present yourself. If they like you, they like you. If they don't like you, that's it. That's it. Score your MCCQEs quite well. That's another thing. You need to really have good points on that. So if you smash that and be able to come back you have good experience, you've worked in an environment, like you want to be a pediatrician, you've worked in an environment, pediatrics for let's say a year before you applied, that also gives you more points. So you have to have an element of experience to enter a residency program. I can guarantee you, if you finish med school like this, do your internship, it will be your chances are much lower if you don't have an experience out there in a pediatric environment. as opposed to someone who has actually had a pediatric environment or internal medicine or surgical environment. Yeah.
Thank you, Doc, for that. Then we have Esther Kitulu with a question.
Raisam, hiyo ni kwa sababu you are too old. They consider you to be too old. Sorry for someone is about to ask. Esther, yeah.
Can you hear me well? Esther, kindly, we cannot hear you well.
Okay, just go to the next person while I
search your mic. Okay, thank you. So back to the chat to see if there are any other questions we've left out. Grace G is asking a question that I feel like Doc has answered. If you're a licensed doctor in the UK, do you still have to do MCCQE examination to be a registered doctor here?
They have their own rules about that and interchangeability of licensure, and you may need to use a different route for that. They will consider a UK, Australian, they used to consider South Africa as licenses that are interchangeable. But they started becoming a bit more strict because people were misusing it. So you should have proof that you have practiced in the UK for a bit of time. Then they'll give you a bit of more leeway. And here we're looking at interchangeability of that Royal College kind of fellowship thing and allowing you to sit for the Royal College exams. So they can allow that. If you go and practice and in the UK and you're a resident and you're in the residency program and you want to go to Canada, they will have some leeway to allow you to actually do the Royal College exams. This one, I think, is possible. There's interchangeability and agreements between certain countries. Yeah. And they're not very many. That's the US, the UK, Australia, I think Singapore, if I'm not wrong, and South Africa used to be there, but South Africa, I think, may have been thrown out also. Yeah.
Grace has a follow-up question. What if you have a master's degree in another field of study, but related to medicine after undergrad, and you have, but related to medicine after undergraduate study and have experience in the health sector, but surpass the 5-year mark? Can you still be considered?
Entering a residency program as an AMG, I think is a 5-year thing. If you're doing other masters outside, I'm not getting that question. Are you talking about public health? What other masters? Sorry to ask.
Okay, at this juncture, we'll take one more question from Esther Kitulu. And I'd like to inform us that we have 5 to 10 more minutes to go. Esther, go ahead.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me better now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, my question to Doc would be, there's a question Samantha asked and I had the same question and I feel like it was not answered well. So maybe you can go back to it. She asked whether the whole program is worth it. I still want to know, like, from your experience, do you feel like it's really worth it? Like what you did there, maybe you could have gone to a different place if not done it in Kenya. Because from the general explanation, I feel like it's a bit hectic, like the process as compared to what we had yesterday about Australia and maybe the things we've heard about other countries. Is it really worth it? Like the whole general experience to go there and the requirements, like all the money you need, maybe could you have done it maybe in South Africa and, you know, something like that. And the other thing would be, do you feel like you get competitive advantage having done your MEd or like the other thing you do after MEd, you know, after you become a pediatrician and now you want to do maybe pediatrics, nephrology, something like that. Do you feel like you have a benefit, a competitive advantage having done it abroad, considering the way maybe sometimes Kenyans just imagine everyone who's studied abroad is better than someone who's done in Kenya? Like you apply and they check, oh, this one did it in Canada, they pick you. Do you feel like it's like that for you? Maybe that would motivate some of us to go outside as compared to here, despite all the challenges that are there. Thank you.
Sorry, just repeat the last part. I didn't get it. About the last part, just the last part.
The competitive advantage, like maybe is it of more benefit to have done your study abroad as compared to those who did it here? Maybe you have counterparts who did it around here while you did it in Canada, and both of you apply like for a job in Aga Khan. Do you feel like it's up to this point? This is like really personal. Maybe you've been accepted to places where your colleagues who are probably better placed would have been accepted simply because you did it in Canada.
Okay. So I think the question you're asking about, that question of is it worth it is a very difficult question to answer, because everybody has their own personal reasons why they want to do something out there. Was it worth it for me to actually go outside and do this? And did I get the experience I want? Yes, I'll never regret it. It was not easy, of course, but the kind of experience that I got, I will never have gotten it anywhere else in the world. That's all I can put it. I'm not going to all countries, but I believe the Canadian system is the best. But I've been to German, I've been to UK, I've seen how their practice is. They're probably not as far, but I feel the kind of education system that is there is quite open, and it is more student friendly, if I was to put it that way. Now, do you need to go through this whole process to achieve this? I think this is a question you always have to ask yourself. What is it that you want out there? Most of you, it's probably just money. I'll be very honest. There's nothing about practicing. You want to be paid more, right? So if you really want to be paid more and that's your drive, there you go. The task is there. Some of you really want to get a certain experience or want to practice in a functional system. If that is your motivation to go there, then well and do it. There are many ways of getting to Canada. Apart from just it being direct, you can actually try going to other countries before you go to that other country. But the process is quite limited in terms of IMGs. I'll be very honest. It is quite difficult for you to enter that country without going through the due processes that I've talked about. It is something that you have to ask yourself, do I need to do this? And if I'm doing this, what do I meet outside? Now, I have a sibling who's a medic, and he's probably gonna go, preferably look at the UK as an option. UK seems to be one of the easier ways to get into any form of practice at the moment before they lock out everything. But it is one of the countries that I would have suggested is a path, because if you go to the UK, once you practice there, it will open windows to many other places. That is Canada, the US, Australia, and all that, because you're practicing in a system that is quite functional. Getting even into South Africa, you know very well, is very difficult. And I hope someone told you that it's also seemingly quite difficult in its own way. Many people went there, and it takes a lot of time to go into the whole process. But the UK seems to be a good way to go. Canada will be a bit restrictive. If you need to go the long haul and wait for your turn to come in, then do it. I think for you to get into Canada, the easiest option, and I'm putting it very clearly, is for you to have finished your residency program in Kenya and go in as a fellow. If you go in as a fellow, you'll be able to do anything that you want to do. You can opt to stay in that country. You can be able to do your fellowship easily without going through all those things. And while you're working in that country and doing all that stuff, you can put your things together to be able to see if you can actually practice in that country. That might be their only easy option. I had that option of trying to stick around there. It is available, and you can really work on it and try to see if you can get that opportunity. But it was not in my best interest. It was not worth it for me to stay there longer, because Kenya has a lot of opportunity. It's just that you haven't explored it. Did I get better jobs or get a better, am I looked at differently? 100%. I'm looked at differently for practicing outside the country. That kind of experience cannot be found here, and people look at me a bit different because I trained in Canada, because I was exposed to one of the best systems in the world. And any employer or any opportunity that comes into play, if I name drop Canada, that I was in Canada and this place and place, I will actually get the job much faster than anybody else. Yeah. much easier than anybody else. Yeah.
Okay, there's one. We will go to Amos Maingi, but before that, let's finish up on the chat section. We have been told by senior colleagues to leave the country. Most have never been anywhere outside. With the current trend and your experience here and abroad, what is your view on that?
Well, I also keep telling people the same thing. If you have an opportunity to leave the country and have a different experience abroad, it is okay. Kindly go for it. You need to expand your options out here. It's getting a bit difficult. You know, my time, it was guaranteed. Okay? I was not paid a lot. I was paid 40,000 bob per month, right? As an intern. As a medical officer, it went up to about 50,000 bob. I lived like a king, of course. But 40 to 50,000 and guaranteed a job for the rest of my life. At that time, I will just be able to go up the ranks the way I want. Okay, just that I opted out of the program as early as my first year of MOship, because I thought I wanted to just finish my stuff and move on. I did not wait for sponsorship or such things, so I quickly got out. But I could have stayed in the system for as long as I wanted, because there was a seamless transition from internship, MOship, senior MOship to whatever that you wanted to be. That is not available to us now, to you guys now. Where I am, I cannot say I'm complaining. It's not easy, of course, but I'm not living badly. I'm able to pay my bills. I'm able to live a lifestyle that I've chosen. It took a bit of extra work to leave the country and come back and do my stuff over here, but I'm okay. I don't see any benefit of leaving the country myself. But for you guys, where you have limited options and you can see every single day people crying that they're not being paid, what options do you have out there? Okay. One, quickly look for money, save up whatever money you have, do your postgraduate program in Kenyatta at the university here in Kenya, Aga Khan, wherever. Quickly finish it, go do your fellowship outside there. Okay. Two, decide just to pack up your stuff, do your USMLEs, pack up your stuff, leave the country as soon as possible. If you're into that pathway, please do it. If you're able to do it, please do it. It doesn't come cheap. None of those exams are cheap. You know that. You need to save for them during internship and do them. If you feel like this country is enough for you, figure out how you're going to stick around. Okay? Toe the line, do your stuff, read around, stick around, invest beyond beyond medicine so that you can have other sustainable income outside medicine. But the question of leaving the country, I always say, if you have the opportunity to leave the country, kindly leave. There's no two ways about it. It's just kindly leave and go do your stuff. You can come back later when you think you're okay, but you need to increase your chances of getting unemployment, getting a job out. You cannot just put yourself within the borders of Kenya. Even in Africa itself, you feel like there's a country which is offering a job in Africa, in South Africa, Botswana, rich countries, kindly go and do that stuff, okay? I think the driving component in most of these discussions and why people want to leave the country is just the pay. It's not the experience. I don't believe that's true. The Kenyan experience and the kind of education that you get is not so bad. But the people, it's the pay. You've been working for 5, 4 years, 6 years. You want a good life. You want to live a good living. You want to support your family. You want to put something on the table. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Doc. Amos Maingi will be the last person. Then I will go ahead and wind up this meeting, and we will finish with our chair giving us a vote of thanks. Thank you.
Okay, now Dr. Brian said that as a medical practitioner, going through, as a medical practitioner, for you to secure a job in Canada, you have to go through hell. Now that got me curious. I'm a physiotherapist. So does it mean that being a physiotherapist, I have to go through hell? How is life there at Canada as a physiotherapist? Because you've said that mostly physiotherapists, like chest physiotherapists, at your time you were joining there, they were just taxi drivers. They were not practicing, because now it's like getting a job, it was hard for them. Like, how about now? That's my question.
It's not so far. I'm not far from when I finished, just the other day. Yeah? I think you kind of, let's just make a bit of clarification. Thanks for that question, Amos. Number one, the discussion today, basically, I was mainly focusing on people who are in the medical doctors. Those are the ones who kind of get it a bit difficult. It takes a long time. But for a physiotherapist, there are many opportunities, Amos. I believe if you're a physiotherapist, you can apply and go there and you'll get a job. As soon as you apply for that and you get an opportunity, it is okay. It's the medical field which is a bit different. The medical, not the healthcare field, I'm talking about the people who are doing MBCHB. It must be a bit difficult for them to actually get into those other channels, as opposed to someone like you who has probably done physiotherapy. You may actually get a job easy, but the problem might be you might need to go to the university, buy some time there so that you can get your permanent residency, and it's easier to get a job into that country. Most people have to get permanent residency. So you need to buy about 2 years or go through the pathways of getting permanent residency, then your jobs will be available to you. That's to you, Amos. So for the medical, the ones who are doing the medical degree, it's the ones who actually might need to have a bit of more extra work to do to be able to get into the program. Yeah. And I'm sure physiotherapists also have their own organization that they're able to actually have their rules and regulations on whom can or who cannot actually work in Canada. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doc. I'd like to close up with showing a presentation on what this study online series has been about. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, Tess, we can.
I'll go right ahead. So the AMSUN Executive Committee, together with the Foreign Examination Planning Committee, came up with the Study Abroad online series. And it started yesterday. That was 26th June 2021. So our speaker yesterday was Dr. Mura from Australia. And today we have Dr. Brian Maugo, who's talked about his journey to becoming a fellow in Canada and back here in Kenya. Then on 3rd July, that's next Saturday, we will have Dr. Ritika, and she will talk about the UK. Then on Sunday, the following Sunday, that's next Sunday, excuse me, we'll have Dr. Rhythm, and we will close up with Dr. Mitesh Kiroya, who will give us his experience in terms of practicing in South Africa. So kindly participate in this series. It's the first of many here in the University of Nairobi. We are really privileged to have this organized for us by our current AMSUN Executive Committee. So all these links, all the posters, everything has been shared to your various class groups, and we will keep sharing on all our platforms, so please be on the lookout. A special thanks goes to the planning committee, and these 15 people have been part of this amazing experience. So let's just recognize them and realize that 15 people went out of their way to give you the information you need, especially with the rhetoric being, if you have a chance to go outside, just go outside. And at this juncture, I'm inviting our chair, Winnie, to close the meeting. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed this thoroughly and looking forward to more. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Tess. Thank you, Dr. Maugo. It was very nice to have you. Thank you for honoring our invite. We are truly honored that you have spared time out of your busy schedule to inform us of those opportunities out there for us. And right now, I can confidently say that we are better off compared to how we were 2 hours ago. And I believe that now we can make informed decisions. Thank you, Tess and Kamau, for the great facilitation. You guys have brought out our questions very clearly. That was good work. And a big thank you also to the Foreign Entry Medical Exam Planning Committee for your dedication and for your commitment in organizing this. And a big thank you to AMSUN Exec Committee. You guys are just awesome. You're doing great things. And finally, to all AMSUN members, we are here because of you. So thank you for tuning in and continuing to support us. Therefore, on behalf of the entire AMSUN committee, we are grateful and we are committed to continue nurturing you towards the profession. So keep in touch even as we do the other part of the series. Santeni sana. Yes. I think we can end the meeting at this point. Yes, you're free to leave at your pleasure. Yes.
Acha na nitapanda towards Jade.
Sorry?
No, she's on unmute by mistake.
Oh, okay. Sawa. Yeah, we are free to leave. Thank you.